So, good evening. I'm Neeraj Bajani joining in from New Delhi. So one good reason for me, Janani, always is to have interactions with new people, maybe from a new region, new country, people working in a diverse environment, organizations, and to really understand what are some, first of all, some of the challenges that they are facing. And second, again, like you asked, some of the compelling reasons for them to look for a different way of working. And what do they expect from this different way of working? For example, some people are talking about being in a project environment. Some of them are in a product organization. So what brings them to look at SAFe as probably as an alternative for a different way of working? So very curious, very excited to be here to understand. And I hope, similarly, people joining in from organizations in Sri Lanka, anywhere in the world, hopefully would have that same expectation, Janani. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because I think we have a range of certifications in SAFe, and everyone must be curious, okay, which one to do, when to do, and why we do that, and what is the value proposition of the certifications. And that's our intention today. Right. So hi, Kushal. Hi, Sujan, Rasan. So we have a few more participants joining. Would anyone like to share who you are, what you do, what inspired you to join this session?
Hi, Janani. I'm Sujan Pereira. I'm the IT head in GSK Sri Lanka. The purpose of joining this meeting is to understand what SFAE is, and I'm hoping to get the certification in the near future. So just want to understand and get more details on this.
Awesome, awesome. So you have joined the right forum, Sujan. So warmly welcome. Okay, so 4:35 p.m. Rumesh, is a good time for us to get started?
I think it is, Janani.
Yeah, okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, so let me know if you can see the screen by now. I hope you all can see the screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's get started. Good evening, everyone. Warmly welcome to the SAFe Certifications Ask Me Anything panel discussion. And I am so glad to host a fellowship of agile leaders today. So we all know that business agility is not anymore a luxury. It is a crucial capability of your organization ecosystem. And SAFe, or the Scaled Agile Framework, offers you an operating system to achieve business agility. Now, we have done a couple of sessions around SAFe and the business agility before, but today's intention is to give you more clarity around SAFe certifications, because there's a wide range of certifications, and you might be wondering, based on your role, based on your organization needs, what's the best certification that add value more to you? So that's the intention of today's session. And let's quickly check out our agenda for today. So we'll get started with getting to know our panelists, and we will briefly talk about why and what is SAFe, just to refresh. And then we will open your forum to ask me anything. That is, we'll be sharing you a link, a Jamboard link for you to post questions and for you to think what questions you want to ask. To take you through a logical sequence, we will start talking about the SAFe implementation roadmap. And Ramesh, I would invite you to share the Jamboard link in the chat so people can have a look at it. And please do not worry if you are new to Jamboard. When we open the Ask Me Anything forum, I will show you how to post questions. Okay, right. So let's start with the introduction. So I just stopped sharing because we need to see the faces of our friends, right? So let's get started with inviting Neeraj, and we are so honored to have Neeraj because Neeraj is an SPCT, that is Safe Program Consultant Trainer, one of the highest, it is the highest level of certification that Safe offers, and one of the toughest certifications because it needs a deep experience. So Neeraj, thank you so much for accepting the invitation and be with us. Would you like to say hi to the panel? Yeah.
Thank you, Janani. First of all, good evening, Sri Lanka, and my friends joining in from anywhere in the world. Ayubowan, like I said, greetings from my side in Sinhala, if I pronounced it correctly. Quick introduction about me. I will not take much time. Yes, Janani mentioned I am an SPCT, Safe Program Consultant Trainer, one of the highest certifications, and very fortunate to be one of the few hundred SPCTs across the world. Yes, it's been a tough journey, but a learning experience as well. Most of you, I also started my agile journey back in 2008, 2009, but again got a chance to be an SPC, Safe Program Consultant, in 2014. And from there, I have been working with organizations like Philips Healthcare, Finacle, that's one of the world's leading banking software, Sabre Travels, Intel, Harman, NXP, Deutsche Bank, and very recently, again, as an automobile vendor, NXP. So that has been my consulting experience. And from the training front, been training for the last 7 or 8 years in SAFE, trained more than 2,000 people approximately. I have stopped keeping a count now because every now and then we get a chance to train. So that's my training experience. And once again, thank you, Janani. Thank you, Rumesh, Shakti, for inviting me for this interesting panel discussion. I'm sure I'll be able to add some value in this forum. So thank you once again. Hope to be around for the next 1.5 2 hours for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. And this is the beauty around our panelists, because we are coming the panelists from a diverse audience and diverse industries, diverse experience levels. But there's one common thing: we all are friends. We all are colleagues. We all are friends, and we are friends of Agile and friends of each other. So now I'm going to invite another expert, industry expert, that is Satya. We call it Satyajit, but we call it Satya as friends. So Satya, would you like to say hi to the team?
Hey everyone, my name is Satyajit Nath, easier to say Satya, so that's what my friends call me. Again, I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now, but again, my journey to Agile started in a different way. I was an architect for a client working in the States, and the client said, we'll do Agile. My reaction was, oh, it's another new thing, new term they're throwing at me. And I went into Agile as a naysayer, yeah, let them do what they want to do, I'll continue doing my job. I did that, and then I realized the problems, the pitfalls that were coming, right? And then I could very clearly see what was the problem that we had in the old days, right? The old waterfall days, and how could this be solved with this new ways of working, which is called Agile. So started as a naysayer, slowly went on the journey of, learning Agile and practicing Agile, making sure that it comes into my blood, becomes a muscle memory. And since 2016, I have been an SPC. Been training a lot of people across the globe, done a lot of consulting for large players like ANZ, Airbus. Recently, I did one consulting engagement for a client called BCBS, that is the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana in US. So my journey has been from architecture to a naysayer in Agile to a guy who preaches Agile every day. So hopefully I'll be able to clarify questions and doubts you may have. And looking forward to this great panel discussion. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Satya. And now it's my pleasure to invite one of the best Agile transformation coaches that I have ever met, Shakti. Hi, Shakti.
I think that's too much statement to begin with, especially when Neeraj sir is in the panel as well. Hi all, my name is Shakti. Really honored to be there with you all today. I'm joining in from Australia, and my Agile journey has been quite interesting as well, similar to Satya, but I was a consultant. I was working with Oracle, and as an Oracle consultant who was coming into Australia, you need to be able to talk buzzwords. One of the buzzwords in 2010 was agile, and hence I learned to talk agile before I actually started seeing the talking and the principles. People started applying and started getting results and were thanking me while I did not know anything, and that kind of created an imposter syndrome, let's put it that way. And hence I went deep, and that's where I started seeing value in transmission. I'm mostly into financial sector, similar to Neeraj over there with respect to Oracle Fusion, and hence with almost all the four banks in Australia, as well as right now I'm also heading agile transformation in an organization which has more than 100,000 people. Um, while my experience has been broad, I personally feel what agile makes you become as a person holistically is something I will take it to my grave more than anything just applying to work. So, and hence my trainer phase have come where I'm paying it forward. That's why incremental came into existence in 2020 when we hit COVID, and there's a need for people to upskill because a lot of people are losing job. We felt we could bring our industry experience into the training consulting, and that's when incremental came in with the help of everybody who you see over here. Hopefully keen to add value and learn from you all as part of this journey. Thanks, Janani.
Thank you so much, Shakti. And then my pleasure is to invite Rumesh. Now, who doesn't know Rumesh in Sri Lanka? Where there is Ajay, there is Rumesh. So,
Yeah.
so glad to invite Rumesh. Yeah.
Thanks, Janani. Not just me, right? Wherever there's agile, there's you. Okay, so nice to see everyone. I think everyone knows me. Hopefully, I'm Rumesh Jetunga. My agile journey also started somewhere around 2010, like what Shakti and Satya also mentioned. 2010, I think that was the time where agile was booming. I was introduced to a particular company in Sri Lanka. I won't mention any names. And this company was undergoing a certain amount of transformation. They were doing waterfall projects, and they were now looking at, okay, there's this agile buzzword, there's this Scrum way of working that everyone is talking about. So they were actually in the initial stages of adopting agile and Scrum. So I was introduced to agile in that company. I played the Scrum Master plus business analyst role. And then my journey also has been really interesting, where I started teaching agile somewhere around 2014. From that time period, been teaching Scrum, Kanban, and now Scaled Agile framework. So I got SAFE program consultant in 2019. And ever since then, I've been working with Janani and Shakti and the team in conducting SAFE certification training. At the moment, I'm the enterprise agile coach at Wiley Global Technology, responsible for agility of teams in Sri Lanka as well as in Australia, as well as I'm the founder and director of Factor Holdings Private Limited. So that's my own company through which I do training as well as transformation consulting. Yeah, over to you, Janan.
Thank you, Rumesh. So I'm so glad to share the stage with all of these agile leaders. So I'm Janani Lianake. By passion and by profession, I'm an enterprise agile coach. I'm a person who believes that every human being is empowered and resourceful in their own ways. It's a matter of connecting them with this self-awareness, clarity, and alignment. So that is where the real agility gets born, because when you have this inner balance, inner alignment, there's no strong wind can really shake you. So all these frameworks, Scrum, SAFe, all these things become more meaningful when you are connected with this self-awareness. So that's something that I strongly believe, and that's what I do in as my passion, as my profession, as well as my purpose. That is, as the founder of the Agility of Transformation Services, I help people and organizations to achieve personal and business agility. So falling in love with what I do every day and celebrating what I do. So that's me, and then let's get started with our panel discussion once again. Let me share my screen. Okay, right. So our next topic is to talk a little bit around why and what is SAFe. So let me start. Right. Okay, so even with Tusanta, we were talking about how would you scale in traditional organizations or conventional ways of scaling. You know, we had earlier at the beginning, we had a little bit of projects, we had few projects, and now we have more projects. And when your organization become bigger, we have projects of projects and projects of projects, and we call them portfolios. Now, yeah, you can scale that way. But the thing is, when you scale this way, we're also calling for many other problems. Problems like dependencies. I'm sure if you are a project manager, if you are a Scrum Master, you can really empathize this picture, because you're going from team to team or project to project to finding the so-called resources and who's doing what, and solving all the dependencies. So dependency is a big challenge. And also the transparency, the lack of transparency. When we have now, it's not just one project. Now we have multiple projects, multiple stakeholders, different vendors are coming together. So who's doing what? When do you deliver what? It's finding it's really difficult. And also the lack of priority, right? Now it's not like prioritizing your project. Now we have lots of projects and you have lots of people like business owners or stakeholders who are saying everything is important. Now, how would you keep that prioritization in sync, right? So the challenge of prioritization. And also lack of ownership. Now, usually in these traditional organizations, we have layers and layers of managers to hold the control and give tasks and manage people. So managers are managing and the workers are working, but the problem here is lack of ownership. So these are some typical challenges that we face when you're trying to scale in a traditional way. And what happens is complaints and escalations win over ownership and real outcomes. That is business agility we're talking about. So I would like to invite Rumesh. Now we know this is a problem. We have been talking about for decades of this problem. So we need a change, right? So I would invite Rumesh to talk about what can the change, what would be the change would look like.
Okay. So let me start by asking a small question from everyone. How many of you have worked in a startup company? Or how many of you have worked in a small team that has worked on some sort of an innovative product or a solution? Can I maybe see a raise of hands, or if anyone would like to talk? Anyone who's worked in a startup or has done some innovative product as a small team? No one, is it? That's interesting. But
because
maybe
everyone is in corporates, large corporates.
everyone's in large corporates. Okay, let me actually tell you all why I asked that question. Right? When we take a small team and when we take a startup company, right? What are some of the characteristics of a startup company? Everyone would be like thinking like the CEO or the CTO, right? Everyone would be saying, okay, this is my company, this is my product, this is my baby. This is my passion. This is what I want to be successful. This is the solution or the product that I want to be successful with. That's the sort of a mindset that any entrepreneur or a person who's having a startup would have, isn't it? Right? Now, what will happen to this particular small company or this startup when it starts growing? What Janani showed, right? The problems that we saw when Janani showed about problems with prioritization, problems with multiple teams doing the work, problems with having to scale the number of people who are doing the work. There are lots of challenges that come into the picture, right? What do most of the companies do? They start setting up an organizational hierarchy, isn't it? They will come up with an organizational hierarchy with multiple layers. Layer by layer, there'll be designations, different designations. Finally, what will happen? Innovation will go for a 6. Value delivery will go for a 6. The organization will look at the stability in terms of the structure of the organization, right? There's a problem. Structure and innovation would actually collide. It would collide and it would have an impact on delivering value in a speedy manner and in an innovative manner. This is the main challenge that most of the agile organizations fail when we look at scaling it into a larger context, right? So we need a different model, a different way of working, and we call it a new operating system. We call Scaled Agile Framework, or SAFe in short terms, as an operating system, a dual operating system, which will enable us to have the optimization through a structure that will help the entire organization innovate and deliver value faster, right? With that in mind, let's actually move forward. So I'll give a brief about the Scaled Agile Framework. I don't want to do a deep dive and get everyone excited as well as everyone confused and I mean, looking at this and going and saying, okay, this is really big. We don't want to explore this, right? So I'll just give a brief. This is a framework, Scaled Agile Framework, right? It talks about building blocks, right? We talk about the Scrum framework. We talk about the Kanban framework, right? Why we call something a framework is because it has a certain set of building blocks based on which this entire framework will come to life in terms of delivering value, right? Right at the bottom, you see these building blocks. There are core values in SAFe. There's lean agile mindset. Again, I won't go into detail. There are 10 SAFe principles, like with agile, basic agile. These are the building blocks. This is the foundation based on which the entire framework is built. In addition to those building blocks, we see 7 competency areas, competency categories. Lean agile leadership, right at the bottom, you all see this. Continuous learning culture, team and technical agility, agile product delivery, like that. There are 7 competency categories in the Scaled Agile Framework. When we move forward and when we talk about the different certification options that are available, we'll touch upon a little bit along the lines of these competency categories as well, right? I'm sure everyone over here are practicing some form of agile, either Scrum or Kanban, right? At team level, even in the Scaled Agile Framework, Scrum and Kanban is the base. You all need to know how to practice Scrum and Kanban at team level, even in a scaled environment, right? In addition to that, there are additional practices. Again, not going into detail, this entire diagram actually talks about all those different practices that are available, okay? I'll talk a little bit about one small thing. Right at the top, you all see essential, large solution, and portfolio. Essential SAFe, large solution SAFe, and portfolio SAFe, right? For any organization to practice Scaled Agile Framework at the minimum level, they need to have essential SAFe, right? Essential SAFe basically is required to get the work done. Simple as that, right? At team level, at program level, to get the work done, you need essential SAFe, right? But we need the support of strategy, right? We need the support of strategy. We want to make sure that the work that we do at a technical level is aligned with strategy. For that, we need the next levels in terms of large solution SAFe as well as portfolio level SAFe, right? Basically, what happens with the Scaled Agile Framework is there's an alignment that is created right from the top in terms of strategy and strategy creation, right down to the teams that are doing the work. And this alignment is created across value streams, right? Again, not going into detail, but just remember that objective of Scaled Agile Framework is to deliver value in simple terms. Janani, I think we can move forward.
Yeah.
So what exactly is SAFe? Like I said, it's a framework consisting of the knowledge and good practices that have been identified by different practitioners who have identified, okay, we have lean, we have agile ways of working, we have Devops, which enables continuous integration and continuous delivery. It's a collection of all these good practices that we see in the industry coming together to actually enable this delivery of value. That's basically the Scaled Agile Framework. Okay. And I'll quickly talk about this as well. Why do we need SAFe? Janani also touched upon this, right? These are some statistics from case studies. You all also can actually navigate to scaledagile.com and go to case studies and have a look at this as well. So these are actually findings from research itself done by the Scaled Agile Incorporation itself. 30% of the people are more happier, employees are happier, 50% time faster time to market, 50% defect reduction. Like this, there are benefits that everyone in the organization would get right across. More engagement, faster time to market, more quality, and then innovation and value delivery. Those are the main benefits of Scaled Agile framework.
Thank you. Thanks, Ramesh. So we believe that majority of the participants here must have attended at least some form of agile workshops before. Like it could be certified Scrum Master, it could be certified Scrum Product Owner. So one of the common question anyone would ask at the end of a CSM or CSP or course is, how would we, now this is fantastic, Scrum is fantastic, but how would we get entire organizations to practice this? I think SAFe is answering that question, right? So that is the biggest gap that we are fixing through a SAFe's Scaled Agile framework. So we are now opening the Ask Me Anything forum. So let me share the Jamboard which we shared with you. Ramesh, if you can share once again the link. And also let me show you the Jamboard link with you. Right. So this is the Jamboard we Ramesh just shared. Okay. So for the convenience of the panelists as well as the audience, so we have divided into 4 areas. If you were an agile coach or a change agent or a program manager, portfolio manager who's driving a transformation or thinking about driving a SAFe transformation, you can put your questions here. How would you put your questions? The only feature that you need here is a sticky note. Towards your left, there's a panel, and the 4th icon is a sticky note. Okay, you simply take a sticky note, add something, your question, right? And you can say, put it here. So in this block, the green color block. And if you are a business analyst, you are a product owner or a product manager or a business owner, right? Thinking about which SAFe certification that's going to help you, or have any questions, you can put it here, the blue color block. Or else if you are a team member or a team lead from Dev, QA, UX, or from technology like architects, Devops, you can put these questions under the yellow block. Or if you could be a Scrum Master, Agile Delivery Manager, or Agile Project Manager, or a release train engineer in Scaled Agile framework, you can put your questions in the red block, the red area. So either way, all you have to do is take a sticky note and put the question, so we will not miss it. But in case if you are joining from mobile or some form of way, then you might have to put it in the Zoom chat. But we prefer you put your questions in the Jamboard, whoever possible, because it's easier for us to prioritize and move forward. Right. So that is about it. So you can start putting the questions. Until that, for you to put you into a structure and a logical sequence when and why and where these certifications be more meaningful, we are going to show you the SAFe implementation roadmap. Okay, let me share it. Right, so I would invite Neeraj to take us through the SAFe implementation roadmap and the certifications along with that.
Sure. Thank you, Janani, once again. And let me do a brief overview of the SAFe implementation roadmap. And I'm sure you guys must be aware, every organization that is planning to achieve their vision and mission always have some kind of a roadmap laid out. And when we are talking about transformation journeys, again, I believe and I assume that you guys know, transformation is never an easy thing, never an easy experience. And that's why Scaled Agile has brought in these critical moves or critical steps based on a very popular book from John P. Cotter. It's called Leading the Change. where he spoke about what are those 8 critical steps an organization, a team should take to bring in the transformation. Right. So corresponding to that steps, let's look at the safe implementation roadmap. And just like Janani and Rumesh mentioned earlier, any organization, first of all, whether it's operating in waterfall or any other traditional ways of working, or even if they are doing ad hoc agile, which means some kind of agility at pocket level, may not have entire benefits to the organization, because as you are all aware, nowadays an organization that is probably operating in waterfall cannot respond back to the changes that are coming in quickly. And as customers, we expect organizations to give us products, give us services as quickly as possible. Right. So the very first step that you see at the left-hand side is something, understanding what is a tipping point, which means, the organization has probably reached a point where, they further cannot be operating in the traditional ways of working, right? And that is where they decide to go for safe. And a few trainings that we generally recommend is to look at, leading safe at the beginning. I'll talk more about in depth about leading safe in just a while, but that is one of the early trainings where we expect the leaders to know what is this safe all about. And again, Rumesh mentioned about principles, why is it required, what are different kinds of competencies. So all that is introduced in leading safe training that you can see on the left hand side. From there, when the organization starts looking at adopting safe and saying, hey, this looks like a very good model, at least we can bring in agility at the entire organization level. That is where we come to the next step, where we talk about how do you really train your lean agile change agents. And now remember, organizations would also have identified certain people within themselves to say these guys are going to lead us in this entire transformation journey. And that is where we recommend them to undergo an implementing safe training, also very popularly known as SPC, safe program consultant, because these people would be really working as agile coaches, consultants, and even doing trainings within their organization. And all the panelists that you see out here are SPCs, which means they have undergone that 4-day program to really understand how do you lead such a transformation journey, right? And once these change agents are in the organization, you may have external consultants also coming over. That is where you look at now training executives, managers, and leaders across the organization. Remember, the initial leaders were probably the decision makers, the influencers that you had trained to make sure they understand what is safe all about and how do you bring in business agility. But now, since the entire organization is moving towards safe, other leaders, other managers, other change agents would also be trained. And again, we run 2 trainings out there, leading safe and lean portfolio management. I'm going to talk about those in detail for those people in the organization. After this, because the organization has to now move, start taking those steps towards the transformation, the very first important step that we recommend as part of the roadmap is also to identify value streams and agile release streams. I'm sure those of you who have an understanding of lean would also understand that a value stream is a collection of people, steps, and activities that are together required to deliver value. Right? When we launch SAFE, we really look at, hey, what are those value streams, or in other words, what are those product lines, what are those business units which can come together to deliver value to the customer in the fastest possible manner. Right? And agile release trains are a group of people, group of teams, teams of agile teams that we call as, that come together within those value streams to deliver value. And agile release trains, again, a safe term, is nothing but the vehicle that is typically used to deliver value to your customers. From there, we talk about bringing out the implementation plan, because unless there is no plan, it's very hard for the organization to also get their people motivated. While vision and mission just provide you the direction, without the plan, people feel there is no action being taken on the ground. And that's where we create the implementation plan that you can see as the next step in the implementation roadmap. Right? And once the plan has been created, now is the time to look at preparation for the art launch and launching your art. Now, what does launching an art mean? Which means, it has started to take its journey. It is getting into its first program increment or a time box at a scale level. And there are certain trainings that we need to bring in at this level. Again, bringing in leading safe for the stakeholders within that team of agile teams. And also looking at role-based trainings, which are product owner, product manager, safe scrum master. These two trainings are very, very popular because they are role-based, and also safe for architects, which Satya will be talking through, for the architects, what kind of training is required. And last but not the least, just before the launch, just before the first PI gets started for that agile release train, there is a very interesting training. It's called Safe for Teams, in which the entire team of agile teams, it can go up to 125 to 150 people maybe, they all come together and they attend the training, they hear the same message from the same trainer, and they know what is going to be their day-to-day working in Scrum and Kanban, in extreme programming, so on and so forth. Right, so that's the another popular training that the team undergoes to understand SAFe. And once this train is launched, the next step talks about coaching the agile release train, coaching that group of people, the team of agile teams, because they might have started, but they might be struggling. And that is where, again, the role of agile coaches, the SAFe program consultants, even the Scrum Masters becomes very crucial, so that people can really get their ways going, really understand the need to implement and adopt SAFe, and of course, change their ways of working on a day-to-day basis. And certain more trainings that you can see, Agile Product Management, which is a training at an advanced level for product managers, Safe DevOps, and Agile Software Engineering Practices, again, based on the extreme programming practices and DevOps, very two popular areas. That is where these trainings will come in. And finally, towards the end of the roadmap, the last 3 steps is to ensure that the entire organization has started to embrace SAFe, because we have seen a few agile release trains bringing value. Rumesh and Janani talked about the benefits that you saw: happier, motivated employees, faster time to market, defect reduction, so on and so forth. And that's where the organization now says, okay, we have implemented SAFe in one of the business units. Let's try and expand it to other business units, other product lines maybe as well. And that is where you can see the next step, launch more arts, launch more value streams comes into picture. Finally, the portfolio, which is required much to make sure the organization is moving in the right direction, also starts bringing in practices at their level. Right? While we talk about agile being only at team level, we also expect the portfolio, which is the executive level, the senior management level, what are they going to change at their level so that the entire organization benefits from the business agility aspect. And that is where we again bring in the lean portfolio management training that talks about, what are the various practices, how do you look at optimizing the budget for various products, how do you bring in Kanban, how do you set up agile program management office? That's a new term SAFe has introduced, which is similar to what we had as PMO in the traditional ways of working. How do you set them up? That's where extend to the portfolio practices come in. And last not the least, we expect the organization to accelerate. In this step, we expect the people would have now embraced the agile principles, practices, they have understood SAFe, and they are now in a position to resolve their own challenges. which means figure out innovative practices, innovative ways of working, so that tomorrow, whenever the problem changes, they have an innovative solution around it. That's where the last step of the implementation roadmap is, which is called accelerate. But keep in mind, accelerate doesn't mean the end of journey. Accelerate always means it's the beginning of a new journey for the organization in a different direction. So this was in a brief, the implementation roadmap. And as you can see, that circle on the top, that the green colored circle, it represents where do we need to have various measurements done. So for example, at a point where we have launched our first train, maybe you measure how is the business unit, how is the product line, how is the value stream really performing, what's the baseline. And from there, at regular intervals, you keep measuring them. So this is a representation of the implementation roadmap. Next slide, please. And I'll talk about the various trainings. I'm sure everybody is very eager to know more about these trainings. So look at the very first training, Leading Safe, a very, very popular training because the audience that we expect out here are the leaders first. And like I said, any transformation journey is incomplete unless the leaders know what the change is, and the leaders also lead by example in that change. Right. So this 2-day program emphasizes, first of all, on making sure the leaders understand why safe, what is safe, what are those 10 principles that are very much required for any transformation journey. And from there, understanding a couple of competencies, which is, team and technical agility, agile product delivery, that talks about some interesting practices of design thinking, customer journey map, empathy maps, and also introduces an interesting meeting. You must have heard it a lot. It's the PI planning, right? So these are the content that is covered in this 2-day Leading Safe. Again, if you are a manager, if you are a leader in your organization, maybe head of a function, head of a business unit, sure, it's recommended for you guys to come and attend this Leading Safe training so that you understand what is safe all about and how you can really bring back the practices in your organization to move your organization into safe journey. So this is the training number 1 that is there in the roadmap as well. Next is the Implementing Safe training, which is also SPC. Just don't look at SA, it's called SPC, as you can see down in the icon below. It's a 4-day program, and typically we do it for people who are planning to lead their organization in this transformation journey. And like I said earlier, maybe agile coaches, maybe consultants that you would have in your organization, maybe the leaders of the organization themselves who are planning to be part of this transformation journey and take it from the front. So those people, it's recommended to have this 4-day program. It's a very popular program, again, SPC. And post SPC, you get access to a lot of toolkits, a lot of templates. You can run trainings within your organization also. So this is what we typically cover in this 4-day program, helping the participants understand how do you really take the organization in this entire roadmap step by step. So that's the content of this 4-day program. The next training, very popular again for the management, for the executives, is the Lean Portfolio Management. It's a 2-day program, but we also optionally have 1 day additional for a workshop that is very, very customized for your own context and need. And like I said earlier, the management, the executives, the leadership really need to understand what are some changes that we start bringing in at our level. And once SAFE has started to trickle in at various teams level, program management level, how do we make sure we have the right governance around it? How do we measure the progress of benefits that SAFE is giving us? How do we change our own practices at portfolio level so that we are also aligned in the business agility ways of working. All this is part of the content of this lean portfolio management program. After leading SAFe and after SAFe program consultant, I think this is one of the most sought after training for the leadership. People especially who are working at the strategy level, who are working at the customer interaction level, must have undergone this training to make sure you understand the different ways of working SAFe recommends for the leadership. Right, so 3 trainings I have introduced to you guys. Any questions, please feel free to ask. We are all there to answer your questions.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. It's a very
Thank you,
nice elaboration around the roadmap as well as the first 3 the certifications.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at the Jam board to see whether there are any questions. Wow, we are getting questions. So I would love to share the first question with you, Neeraj.
Sure.
Being a Scrum Master, Agile PM, what is the best SAFe certification to start with?
Yes. I think that's a very popular question as well. Typically, if you see Scrum Masters when they start their journey, they do CSM and or maybe even sometimes I've seen CSPO to have an understanding of Scrum. The basic understanding of Scrum. But in SAFe, we have got differentiation of trainings for leadership and Scrum Masters, because these are roles that work quite differently as compared to each other. So for leaders, I would recommend to start with leading SAFe, because like I said, first of all, it gives you an overview of SAFe. How does SAFe work? Those 4 different configurations, what Rumesh had shown on the website as well. How does it all work, and what is the role of a leader in this entire transformation journey? Right. Whereas we'll talk about Scrum Master training a little down from there. But a Scrum Master training typically focuses on the role of a Scrum Master in a SAFe environment, right? So again, if there is a differentiation, you can figure out, hey, are you a leader, or if you are a Scrum Master? I think you need to decide the trainings accordingly. For leaders, it's leading SAFe. For Scrum Masters, we have SAFe Scrum Master training.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And there's just one question along with that. So is this one-time certification, or do we need to update it like PMP every 3 years?
Yeah, so see, for the certification, you need to be renewing it every year. But fortunately, SAFe has now introduced a package renewal for you guys. If you have done multiple certifications, there is just one package that you need to take, and it auto renews your certification. Vice versa, if you are an SPC and you are doing all these certifications, leading SAFe, lean portfolio management, Scrum Master, product owner, it gets auto renewed with SPC. You don't have to pay it separately. So reiterating, multiple certifications, you can renew them together all with a single package, or if you are an SPC, other certifications get auto renewed. You don't have to pay them separately. I hope that answers the question, Janani.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. We have more questions, so we will go along the way the roadmap. So yeah, thank you so much, Neeraj, once again. And let's move on to the next phase of the roadmap, and where we have the we have preparing for the art launch. We talked about that, preparing for the art launch, that is Agile Release Train. And Neeraj nicely explained Agile Release Train is a teams of teams adding end-to-end value to the customer. So when you are preparing, you need to prepare several roles, and that is where we get the SAFe product owner. And I would like to invite Ramesh to talk about that.
Yeah, so thanks, Janani. Now, Neeraj earlier talked about preparing the leadership of the organization in terms of SAFe, getting the understanding about SAFe and the SAFe scaled agile practices. Now we are at a stage where we are preparing to launch an agile release train, right? Think of an agile release train as a train that is leaving a platform, right? Think of an agile release train as a train that is leaving a platform. take a physical train that is leaving a platform, right? Now, what do we want? We want everyone who's part of that train and who needs to travel on that train to get on that train at the same time, isn't it? We want all the compartments to be there, and we want all the travelers, everyone who's traveling on that train, to get on that train at the same time and leave the platform all at once, isn't it? Then only it will become successful. So in order to do that, in order to make sure that everyone is ready to embark on this journey, we need to prepare some roles, right? And we'll be looking at a couple of roles. I'll be talking about a couple of roles. First role that I'll be talking about is Safe Product Owner, Product Manager, or more popularly, it is called POPM. POPM, right? Now, if we actually see, right, Agile Release Train is the place where the work is getting done. This is the place where the value is actually getting done and getting delivered, right? And one of the major roles in terms of identifying this value, one of the major roles in terms of identifying this exact value that needs to be delivered is the product owner and the product manager, right? So we need to prepare the product owners and product managers for this particular thing, right? Product owners and product managers are the people who will be directly interacting with the business owners, business stakeholders. They need to keep the customers in the center. We need to make sure that customer centricity is there. The product owners and product managers will need to be able to explore, do the Gemba walk, right? Maybe use practices such as design thinking and all these modern agile practices that are there in terms of identifying the requirements as well as representing the requirements, right? So through this particular course, POPM, we'll be focusing on, yes, design thinking, customer centricity on one side, as well as aspects of writing features, right? How do we write a feature properly? How do we capture the exact benefit, the hypothesis, the benefit hypothesis in terms of what value we want to deliver? And then how do we actually break down those features into user stories along with acceptance criteria so that we can actually allocate it to teams and get the work done, right? This particular certification is really important. If you are maybe a business analyst, or if you are already playing a product owner role, and if you are looking at taking your career to the next level in terms of a competent product owner as well as a product manager, this is a really important certification because it will actually equip you with certain good practices in terms of how to do proper product management in a scaled environment. Okay, it's a 2-day course. Again, it's a 2-day course. I think, Janani, we can move to the next one as well.
Yeah.
I'll cover this also and pause for a while to see whether there are any questions, right? Safe Scrum Master, maybe while talking about Safe Scrum Master, I'll touch a little bit on Safe Advanced Scrum Master as well. So if you are already playing a Scrum Master role, as you already might be knowing, I'm sure most of you have already done a Scrum Master certification, right? Scrum Master is a leader of a team. But in a scaled agile environment, it's not only the team that you need to work with, right? Yes, you need to be able to run the team level ceremonies. You need to be able to run a daily stand-up. You need to be able to do a backlog grooming, sprint planning. You need to be able to facilitate a review. Those things are there, right? Those responsibilities are there. But you are playing the Scrum Master role now in a teams of teams environment, right? There are other teams as well in the program who might be dependent on you as well as you might be dependent on them. So there are additional ceremonies that will happen at a program level. The Scrum Master will need to play a role in terms of facilitating during these large level events as well. There's an event called PI planning, program increment planning. Scrum Master has a really important role to play in terms of preparing for a PI planning event as well as executing the actual PI planning event. After that, doing the work during the program increment also, during the sprints, right? So this particular certification actually equips the Scrum Masters in terms of how to play the role at a team level, as well as how should a team level Scrum Master actually be able to communicate and collaborate with program level Scrum Masters as well. I'll talk a little bit about the Safe Advanced Scrum Master as well, right? Now, if you are a Scrum Master already, and if you are now looking at, okay, what's the next step for me? What's the next step for me, right? Scaled Agile Framework also offers this certification called Advanced Scrum Master. Advanced Scrum Master. It will focus a lot on aspects of value delivery, continuous integration, continuous deployment. So it will focus a little bit more on the Devops side of things, right? As well as the Scrum Master's role in terms of facilitating and coordinating with the higher level, with the program level, with the release train engineers, with the business owners, and so on, right? So if you all are looking at advancing your career prospects in terms of a Scrum Master role, there's this option of Advanced Scrum Master certification that is offered by Scaled Agile Framework as well.
Thank you so much, Ramesha. That's really useful. So let's look at if you have any questions. Oh yeah, we have a question and it's a very interesting one. So I would invite Ramesha and a couple of panelists to share your thoughts here. What is the typical timeline we can target to roll out the first release train? So any panelists, maybe Ramesha, anyone can share your thoughts. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ramesh. Go.
Yeah, in terms of coaching and getting the roles ready, getting the organization ready, we already saw the roadmap, right? There's this roadmap that will say, okay, the organization has identified, okay, we need to change. The way we are working is not right. There's a tipping point, and now we need to change into this new way of working. And the organization has already identified that we need to identify the change agents, train these change agents in terms of leading safe, implementing safe, and so on. So we already talked about that, right? Once those roles are trained, and once we have the change agents in terms of the agile coaches also trained on doing transformation in a scaled environment, now that's the time actually to now move on to identifying the value streams, the operational value streams, the development value streams, and then identifying the agile release trains. Simply put, agile release trains is where the work is getting done, right? So we need to identify those value streams and see how we can actually get the work done. I would say that actually is the point where it is always good to look at starting the first release train. Once the organization has identified that we need to change, once our change agents are in place, once the Lean Agile Center of Excellence and the communities of practice are in place, then we can actually think about launching the first start. Neeraj, I think you can add more.
Yeah. See, typically I have seen the moment, like you said, Ramesh, the moment the management decides to go ahead with SAFe, typically I've seen, the first train launch takes 4 to 6 weeks because, you need to have all the people coming together. Like you rightly said, you need to train them, you need to identify the value streams, you need to figure out who's going to play what role, PI planning, etc., etc. Typically 4 to 6 weeks, but exceptionally, I've also seen, I worked for Harman, they launched their first train in 3 weeks. The exciting part about it was the management was really, really engaged and involved. And of course, they had given their blessings to people. And that's why, people were excited also to move ahead with that launch. So general answer, 4 to 6 weeks, maybe max 8. Short or best part is, maybe 3 weeks or maybe even less than that. I don't know. So I would put it that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Neeraj. I think Satya wanted to add here as well.
No, I think my point is covered. I was mentioning to what Neeraj was mentioning. I've seen similar timelines of 4 to 6 weeks. The 3 week was really fast, but yes, that's an ideal timeline that I see.
Exactly. And adding into that, yeah.
Go on, Janani. Go on. Sorry.
No, I was trying to say the timeline actually depends on how fast or how soon you will reach the tipping point and how deep you consider as the leadership. Because take an example, how many times that we have started, I mean, at least some of you started the diet plans and exercise routines and in few weeks again given up all the things, right? So because you have not reached the tipping point and it's not deep rooted to your thoughts and your vision and mission. So I think if you reach the tipping point, with the fullest blessings of the leadership, I think it's a matter of weeks, I believe, few weeks, as the Neeraj and Satya mentioned. Over to you, Shakti.
Yes, I do want to play the devil's advocate out of the panel members. I have seen the first release train take almost 3 months. I have done 4 major transmission. There is a reason for that. And what I see of pattern of delayed agile release train launch, even when a management has made a decision, is that point of how does this release train form? It's a lot of people who used to work on multiple businesses, but now this value stream construct kinds of pulls, okay, who are all the people who need to come together right now to make this, which means there is a kind of a dotted reporting line change. They are no longer have the traditional manager kind of this one. So there is a component of the organization learning to let go and reorganize. And organizations which are a little more adaptable get to do as Neeraj was talking, probably in 3 to 6 weeks, where some traditional organization which are really dotted down with this the hierarchical nature, it takes longer, just so that you get a sense of what might pull it a bit as a string in one sense.
Absolutely. Agreed. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So until we get more questions, let's move on. And yeah, so we just covered the certifications around preparing of our art launch, and then we're moving to train team and launch the art now. So I would like to invite Satya to talk about Safe for Architects. Yeah, we're still in the
Absolutely.
prepare the art launch, yes.
Prepare the art launch. Yeah, and
Yes.
if I look at this particular certification from a people standpoint, we talked about the leaders, we talked about the specialist roles, that is the Scrum Master and the product owner, and now we are getting into technology. I think before I get into the certification, this is a big myth. People think that Agile is like project management. It's all about how to plan, how to deliver. That is not true. Agile and Safe also follows the same pattern. There's a lot of focus on technology and a lot of focus on how things are done in the right way. There are a lot of techniques that are introduced in Safe by both by the old technology ways as well as something new within Safe, which tells you how do you deliver in a lean agile fashion. And Safe for Architect is the first certification that takes care of it. Again, my personal bias coming from technology background, this is my favorite certification. Whenever I'm asked to take some certification, if I'm given a choice, I'll take this. But the advantage of this certification is it throws the same idea, the same concept of value, the same concept of product, but from a viewpoint of technology, from the viewpoint of an architect. How does an architect look at a solution? How does an architect look at strategy? How does an architect look at value stream? These numbers that these techniques that I talked about, architecture, value stream, strategy, they are all part of business, right? They are there, the company is running, they're making money, and that's how we are getting our salaries. But architect engages across all level of leadership, and through the change agents, they collaborate to deliver what we call the architectural solutions. Right? There's a typical term that we use in architecture, and that's called architect is basically a elevator. Right? I have got multiple floors of building. In first floor, I have got my business sitting. In my second floor, my development team. In my third floor, I have got my testing team, and likewise. Architect is the person that connects all of them, like an elevator, right? That's how you connect and touch each other. So this is a very key certification which talks about the same business things that we talked about, but from a technology viewpoint. Now, if you are an agile coach with a technical mindset, or you are a developer who aspires to come up and become a senior developer or an architect, or you are a system architect who wants to become a solutions architect or an enterprise architect, this is the certification for you, right? It's a 3-day course, very detailed analysis and a nice case study through which you learn all the way from the top of the ladder to how do you create your stories, and then vice versa. So this is a very nice and effective course for senior developers who have done development, done testing, but now aspire to look at the bigger picture. So that's Safe for Architects for you, 3-day course. And again, it falls in the intermediate level, and it's typically launched during the preparation for the teams. But I have seen some clients continue to do this because the developers keep on maturing in their role. And as and when they mature, they want to go up and become architects. And that's when we run this course for them. So Janani, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And this is the course which we call Safe for Teams, or SP, that is Safe Practitioner. Now that you have gained an understanding of the art, right? You know how to deliver the value. As a developer, as a tester, you need to know how you perform what you are expected to perform when you're working in a Scrum environment or in Kanban environment, or you are leveraging the XP practices to deliver the work in a technical manner. Safe for Teams is the course for you, which is typically talking about how a developer or a tester, what we typically call the development team, fits in the larger enterprise and ensures value is delivered, right? We do talk about execution of iteration, planning of iteration. We talked about PI planning. We also talk about DevOps, because when a developer is doing certain things or a tester is testing certain things, they need the pipeline ready for them through which they are able to move their code faster from their developer's desktop all the way up to production if possible. So all the details that you need from a technical angle of how you place yourself in that larger picture that Ramesh explained in the beginning, and how you collaborate with various stakeholders to ensure that you are delivering value, are covered as part of this training. This is called Safe for Teams. And typically when the trains are launched and people are now starting the execution, the value of this certification comes into foray, because now people are actually delivering value. They are delivering code which translates to value for the customer. And that's exactly what this certification talks about. It's a 2-day course, typically suited for developers, testers, senior developers as well. Again, certain people from quality, certain people from product management area may also come and do this course if they're interested to know how the things are running at the ground level. So this is the certification that we typically refer to when it comes to the development team. Jeremy, we can move on to the next one. And this is again, my second favorite, if you call it, the Safe for DevOps. The DevOps, all of us know it, right? When I say DevOps, most people will start thinking about Jenkins and Bamboos and all of those world, right? GitHubs. That is not true. DevOps is not about building or buying a set of tools and products from the market and putting and building a pipeline. DevOps is about creating a mindset, creating a culture, creating an environment or a set of structure through which you can deliver your code from your desktop all the way to your person, your customer, your client, right? And it involves a lot of changes. It is not just the pipeline that we talked about. It is about the development team and the operation team working together. It is about you understanding how and when you can deliver your code. It is understanding what technologies and techniques are available in the market for us to ensure you are delivering. In SAFE, we do have something that we call DevOps Health Radar, which clearly talks about a flow through which you can do your continuous integration, continuous deployment, and release in a very quick span of time. That's what we focus on here. So it is not just about the pipeline. It is not just about what we typically talk about DevOps in a plain real world. It is about how does an enterprise think DevOps? How does an enterprise implement DevOps? And how does an enterprise train the people to understand and align themselves with DevOps? Again, this is a course that is applicable to most people in the industry, because it is something which is the base, right? It's like your base on which everybody runs. Your Scrum teams run on that. Your business runs on that. Your product teams run on that. But typically, I've seen developers, senior people, maybe the delivery leads, the engineering managers, they are the ones who are more focused on this course because they want to understand the nuances of the code. They want to understand the nuances of how the code is coming from the desktop to the final user. They want to deliver the code faster, and that's something which business really wants. So I've seen some business owners who are technical in nature also attend this course. It's again a 2-day course, one of the foundational ones, but it clearly talks about what DevOps is. One thing that I would like to clearly tell you, a lot of people come into this course with a mindset that will teach them how to, customize Jenkins or create a pipeline using Jira and all of that. No, we are not going to do that. We're going to talk about the various scenarios that you can get into. We're talking about various problems that you can get into. And we're talking about the approach that you take to solve that problem. Once you have decided your approach, the solution can be implemented by one of these 1,000 tools that is in the market, which is not part of the course, which is something that you can go to the open internet and search. So this will give you the techniques that you need to decide how to solve the problem. Tools are just an accessory. So that is the third course from a technology standpoint, that is Safe for DevOps. So with that, Janani, I'm done with my part. Any questions, anything that we can talk about?
Yeah,
And
we'll see.
anything that
Thank
people
you
would
so
like to
much,
ask.
Satya. Yeah, we will see whether they have any questions. Rumesh, I see some chats are popping. Could you help us to see whether any chats
Sure.
questions in the chat? Do we have any questions in the chat?
None that I can see right
Okay,
now.
right.
I think we can move on to the next part and take the questions at the end.
Yes. So if you have any questions, you can put in the Jamboard, or you can even ask right away.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just
So
unmute
yeah,
and ask. We are all
yeah,
here for
just
you.
unmute and ask. Yeah. So until you ask the questions, we will move on to the next. We will move on to the next. Yeah. So safe, release, train engineer. Again, one of the favorites. Yeah, I would invite Shakti to talk about safe, release, train engineer.
I would say I'm really, really passionate about this stream of work, which something Rumesh talked about with respect to Scrum Masters and Advanced Scrum Masters, and now the RTs, because heading an agile practice, one of my key outcomes over the next 2 years is, as I already have Scrum Masters playing, I need people to step up. If you imagine the metaphor of a train, right? So this is implementing safe roadmap, which means that the SPCs over here are coming with a specific outcome. I need to train the people. I need to set the right mindset. I need to get the leaders on the same time and start the agile release train and make it start moving. However, there is also a portion of scaling, which means that there are multiple other arts which are coming, which means the SPCs now take a step back, let the train run. So they act as mechanics for the train. Like, so in case it's not running right, they come to fix it. But you need to have a driver who is going to take accountability of the train. And that's a release train engineer. Here is a person who not only understands the value being delivered by the train, but also understand all the connecting points which would bring the most value in delivering the value stream, as Neeraj talked about earlier. This is a 3-day course. In fact, it's a kind of an advanced course because you need to be in the system, understanding the concepts of safe, but also act as a coach by itself. You need to create relationship with the key stakeholders, the directors, the kind of people who are funding the value stream. You must also have the relationship with your scrum masters, coach them one-on-one to be the best versions of themselves. You must be able to remove impediments for across the art, which might have multiple, as again Neeraj talked about, team of teams of scrum. So this 3-day focuses to begin with understanding the team level events and look at what an RT kind of overlooks and helps and coaches, moves on to look at what do we need to make the agile release trains value flow happen seamlessly. What are the tools which a RTE has? But then kind of move into the execution, right? As you know, PI planning is the linchpin of SAFE. PI planning sets up the next quarter in one sense on how we are executing, which means an RT must have tools on tangibly measuring what are the metrics I need to use to know whether is it actually moving in the right direction. What is the moral compass I can use to bring it? So the metric angle is brought in. Finally, an RT is also a leader. He's leading the change, which means that you see the RT actually facilitating the PI planning event. In all honestly, he or she is the person who is going to bring the problems over there into sections. So the art of facilitation, the art of bringing it together. So this course holistically kinds of creates a kind of a replicated clone model, which gets kind of morphed as we scale in. So this, people ask me sometimes about the kind of career pathway. I would say that as you scale, an RT kind of a role, which is at a portfolio level, starts bringing your awareness into an holistic level of delivery and accountability to a extreme level. So again, one of my very, very favorite courses, which is also very special because you need to have a kind of mindset existing where you're ready to face challenges head on. So any questions, Janani, anything that has come up around there?
Yeah, we'll see if any questions coming on. So in the Jamboard, I don't see yet, but any questions in the chat? Yeah, Tusantha.
Yes,
Sushant.
Janni. So, yeah, this team, this may be a personal question, but I believe it will add the value to the other members as well. So being a Scrum Master and the project manager, so as I understood, the best course that I can for the moment to start, because as an enthusiastic for the SAFe, because I have I'm a CSM as well as a PMP. So with those experience, I'm really enthusiastic in getting into this SAFe ocean actually, which as a beginner for the SAFe. So I believe it will be the SAFe Scrum SSM will be the best for me to just to get a start. So first question, just to get an idea from all our experts. And the second one, is there any way, because as I said, I'm working in a projectized company, so it will be based on the client requirement where I can be in the SAFe environment. But is there any way to start the SAFe for me as practically? Is there any hunch, any light, if you can shed some light onto it, would be grateful, team, as from the experts.
I can start with the answer, and I would love the panelists to kind of join me. First of all, Tushanta, I could see in your voice, especially when you introduced very early on, the fact that your mindset is already in place. So I feel as well, starting with the Scrum Master course is going to be crucial so that you understand holistically what does the Scrum Master do in the construct and the framework of SAFe. What are the roles the Scrum Master plays? That's definitely a good starting point, depending on what level advanced, what level of maturity you have in that Scrum Mastery and the execution of it. That's number one. The second thing you ask with respect to, can I, while I'm in a project specified space, which means that there is no SAFe implementation happening around me, would I be able to use what I learn? Definitely yes, right? What you might not be able to apply is the fact that if you don't have a construct of quarterly planning, if you don't have a construct of that kind of PI in one sense, right? You have deliverables for the quarter and the teams executing in that frame. The scaling of it, probably you might not get exposure until there is a SAFe kind of implementation. However, all the other concepts to work with the teams, to kind of coach the product owner, the kind of having the kind of ceremonies which helps the Scrum framework and kind of create a small cohort of groups. Are there multiple Scrum teams which were working towards a common goal? You'd be able to take an initiative to kind of bring them together to form, and I have done that in multiple instances, kind of Scrum of Scrums, to say that, hey, can we all come together because we are all going towards the same outcome, to start having that. So probably at a small scale, I have seen multiple Scrum Masters apply that, but happy to hear other thoughts as well over here, because that's a really good question.
I think
Actually,
you
it's a
covered
really
it well.
good question because we have in Sri Lanka, there are many IT services companies. So how an IT service company would step in to save? Yeah, Neeraj, what is it, Neeraj?
I was just saying one point that I think Shakti covered it well. Scrum Master is the role, and I think you got the details. And if you want to, make a career out of Scrum Master, advance on that line, as Ramesh was mentioning, there is Advanced Scrum Master, which is not right away, but later on, once you have the experience and expertise, you can look at that as your next level. So, but again, right away, immediate answer to your question would be a Scrum Master. So yeah, that's all.
Maybe
Thanks.
I can add a small thing to that as well, based on things that I see in my current organization. Scrum Masters, when they have been in the organization for a period of time, when they have worked in certain teams and worked in certain programs, there are certain instances where they hit certain roadblocks in terms of how to work with the business owners, how to work with the program level stakeholders, and so on. The competencies that you get through the Advanced Scrum Master certification actually helps in terms of facilitating, sorting out these dependencies, and so on. That's something that I see.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your expertise and experience. So at the wake of time, so we will move on to the next slide. And Susanta, hope we were able to add value to your question.
Yes,
And
Janani. Thank you very much.
thank you. So we are moving to the last, actually, the certification, Safe Advanced Scrum Master. Rumesh already touched upon it, and this is again one of my personal favorites, because something very close to my heart, because I've played the role for a couple of years. So now you've got a solid foundation from Safe Scrum Master, that this is a level up, because now you are going to work with multi-team environment. So you're not just coaching the teams, you might have to coach the subject matter experts like the architects and the multiple vendors and different stakeholders and business owners. So you might have to work with them. So it is important that you are armed with some advanced coaching and facilitation skills and tool set, which is one big intention. And also how to adapt those scalable engineering practices like the architecture, agile architecture, or the DevOps or CI, CD, which Satya already mentioned. And also, how would you work with a distributed team? How would you work with a remote team? You need to have some tools and skills and frameworks with you. And those are the things that you can expect to have in an advanced Scrum Master workshop, so to level up. And one important thing is building communities of practice, because we're also talking, this is a huge change, right? So there could be fear gathered in different people. So it's very important that we create communities of practice and let their voice heard through these communities of practice. So you're going to play the change change agent role as an advanced Scrum Master. So that's what you can expect to have happen in a Safe Advanced Scrum Master, and we are launching it for the first time in Sri Lanka on April. So stay in touch with one of us, and our LinkedIn profiles, and you can talk to us on LinkedIn or mail us. So we will let you know the starting dates. Okay, so that's about the certifications, and we have, for your convenience, we have put this matrix. Neeraj, would you like to summarize this as the last part?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Janani, and some great questions coming in. I saw that. So as a quick summary, we discussed so many certifications all along the implementation roadmap, but this slide, kind of condenses everything to a single slide to say, based on the role that you have been playing or you intend to play, you have certifications accordingly. So for example, if you are a change agent, you can start looking at implementing SAFE or SPC, a very popular certification for that matter. And executives and leaders, managers look at starting first with the leading SAFE, because like I said, it gives you an overview of what SAFE is all about and how do leaders play an important role in this transformation journey. Rumesh and Janani spoke about Scrum Masters. The core is SSM, but the advanced level is ASM, the Advanced Scrum Master. And if you are like a Chief Scrum Master, a very beautiful term, Sakti defined as the driver of the Agile release train. Release train engineer is for you, but remember, it's an advanced level course, which means it's better to have some kind of an experience working or handling multiple teams as a Chief Scrum Master. That's where you will benefit out of this RT course. Product owners, product managers, core is the POPM course. Again, if you are a product manager, which means you also focus on customers and market, then the advanced level course is APM for you, Agile Product Management. It's a 3-day course. And at team level, we have SAFE for Teams that leads you to SAFE practitioner. And Satya spoke about technology, talking about Agile software engineering, SAFE DevOps, SAFE architecture. And again, you can always have a combination of these as well. So for example, team members can also do SAFE for Teams, as well as, DevOps, as well as Agile software engineering. So there is no restriction per se to stop any person, any member of the Agile release train to restrict themselves to only a single certification. Based on the kind of roles that you are playing and the involvement you have, in your programs, choose the right certifications accordingly. So this is what it summarizes out there. Yes, I can see a hand going up.
Yeah,
Any
Anu.
questions, please?
Yeah.
Yes, Anu. Yes, please go ahead. Yes, Anu, please go ahead.
Anu is unmuted. However, we don't hear your voice, Anu.
Yes, Anu. Just heard Anu here and then nothing after that. Maybe
Yeah,
you
Anu,
want
maybe
to.
you can put it in the chat.
Yes.
Just, yeah. And
Sure, I'll put
meantime,
it in the chat.
okay, we can hear Anu now.
Oh, all right. So my question here is like, is it, do you have any hierarchical way to do the certification? For example, unless you do Scrum Master or Advanced Scrum Master, there's no point doing in release train engineer certification or something like that. Or is there a logical sequencing for these certifications?
Yeah, so typically if you see, like Rumesh and Janani also mentioned, Shakti also mentioned that, you typically start with one team Scrum Master, then probably you look at SSM because you have to interact with other Scrum Masters and other roles, and then probably you go into ASM because ASM will tell you advanced practices that you can probably bring in for your team, right? So this is only at the Scrum Master role. In case you have elevated yourself to a Chief Scrum Master, then probably you can go for the next level of certification as RT. So, typically that's the path. And even for product owners, we have POPM and then APM. That is logical path that is recommended, nothing mandatory. It's not a prerequisite that you have to definitely have core done before the advanced. The only recommendation is you should have some awareness about the role of the previous level. So for example, if you're going for product manager, you should be aware about the product owner role. That's the only recommendation I know. Hope this answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. And I think we will have, it's almost 6. I think we'll take just 5 minutes to wrap up. And we have just one last question. We should take it, it's an interesting one. If you are working on a small organization which practice Agile Scrum, but not SAFe, is there a value addition on doing SAFe certifications? Do you need to practice SAFe actively to reap full benefits?
I'll take a different stab at it, right? Think of this, right? I give this example in a lot of my trainings. In the past, we had got a tool or an operating system called Linux. We all know Linux, right? Came in 2000s, early 2000s. It was supposed to be one of the best operating system, very secure, very robust. People said it will kill Microsoft Windows. It could not even dent the market share of Windows, right? Come 2010, 2011, the same Linux is now ported over to Google and is now called Android. And it rules the market, right? 99% of the mobiles in the world are now running on Android. That's how I compare Agile and SAFe. I'm not saying Agile is wrong, but Agile had its own limitation. Agile, core Scrum talked about how do I deliver work in a team of 7 people or 10 people. It never talked about how do I create value. It never talked about how do I manage the people, right? These are the aspects that were missing. Doesn't mean that Agile was wrong, but it did not have the complete coverage, the end-to-end thing that a company would need to run. So when SAFe came in, it added the scaling aspect to it. If you understand the nuances of Scrum and SAFe, you will see SAFe does not say negative of anything that Scrum has to say. It builds on it, right? So even for a small enterprise, you could practice Scrum and be successful. But again, if you adapt SAFe, you would be much more successful because you will have a pattern to it. You'll have a solution to it. And if you remember when Rumesh was explaining, there were 3 different things that they talked about: essential, SAFe, and large solution SAFe, and all of that. These are the ones which are created to cater to all these organizations. If you are a large company, you understand and you implement full SAFe. If you are a very small company of 100 developers, you take essential SAFe. So it is not mandate for you to take all the overheads that you saw in the big picture and say, and I have overloaded a very small company with a lot of additional items. That's not the case. So take a basic essential SAFe, and that can be leading to success. That's what I wanted to add here. Shakti, anything to add?
Yeah. Again, I wanted to shift the perspective. So what Satya talked about was from an organization's perspective, how going down the Scrum path and how scaling even essential scale will have a lot of value, right? I'd like to shift the perspective to a person, especially because that's one of the reasons incremental came into existence. If I am somebody who is in the market playing the role of Scrum Master in a Scrum oriented organization, which is very focused over there, there are a couple of reasons why I might go down the safe path. Number one, it definitely adds value to my resume for me to be able to go on to enterprise level organizations who are going through the transformation. So when an organization goes through an agile transformation, which is at an enterprise level, one of the things they look for in a Scrum Master is, does that person know how to scale what they have done at team level? That's one of the reasons one might be going down. The second reason is your organization is actually going through the transformation and you want to be one of the pioneers to be the leading change agent over there. Or there are people like exceptions in one sense, right? While the organization, this is the third set of people, while the organization is in the Scrum world and they are seeing the limitations of that, but they want to lead the change rather than wait for the organization to pick up. They want to introduce some practices to help the organization move faster, and they again go through the safe. So these are the kind of reasons why I've met people who out of personal interest or organizations wanted to do the safe syndication. Again, happy to hear other thoughts as well from the panel. I'm eager to listen as well.
No, definitely. I think I agree with both of you. Just that, someday the organization would have to collectively look at, how are we responding to any change that is coming from the market or our competition or, any technology change, government laws. And that is where, these configurations might help, right? So like Satya mentioned correctly about the essential part being there at the grassroots level. How about the management or the leadership or the executives also getting probably a leaf out of the book to understand what is their change that they need to bring in at their level, right? So maybe those certifications would help get those kind of insights which might have been missing by now at the startup level. And I think that's the next step probably the organization can look at to take in that direction. So I think that will be another added advantage, I believe, by the certifications.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I think it's a really rich dialogue what we are having, and definitely we should do another one because it's almost 5 p.m. and I know it's quite late for Shakti as well from Australia. But thank you so much, Shakti. You've been really, your voice is really energetic even now in late night. So because your passion is towards that. So thank you so much, everyone. And definitely we would have more sessions around not only SAFe certification, but about different topics around SAFe. And we answered, I think, majority of the questions. And if you have more questions, please share any of with us because, I think everyone, all the panelists can put their LinkedIn profiles in the chat. That would be helpful to the audience. And also the email address if Ramesh wants to share anything. So you can ask any questions and keep in touch. So we have a range of certifications coming. Upcoming workshops are coming, like one is a SAFe Advanced Scrum Master, which we are planned for 2nd and 3rd of April. And SAFe Devops, we're going to announce soon. And SAFe Agilist in Sri Lanka, we are having it in next week. That is 17th, 18th, and 21st of February. And we will be launching, not launching, we already launched actually. We will have the SAFe Product Owner and Product Manager and Lean Portfolio Management. It's a very interesting and for the senior leadership. That is 25th, 26th, and 27th of March. And stay in touch through these contacts, right? So you can take a screenshot or maybe Shakti, Ramesh can share the details. That maybe you can connect with us. And yeah, beyond the certifications, right? Why you do all the certifications is that you can move in this journey of business agility. So if you need a transformation partner, right? So because you might feel lost because it's a huge change, but you need to take simple steps and celebrate the quick wins as well. So if you need a celebration partner for your transformation journey, we would be happy to do that. When we say we are a collaboration from incremental learning consulting and agility tune-up and APTRA. So we have experienced agile coaches and especially built on safe expertise, and happy to support you all. So stay in touch. You can reach out to any of us if you need any such, consultancy or whatever, some support around your safe journey. So please feel free to contact us. And yeah, so I just want to say a big thank you, because it's been my pleasure to have this kind of a dialogue, because as I mentioned, it's the fellowship of agile leaders, and I feel really glad that we are coming together to do this kind of session. But love to hear from a couple of panelists, like any final thoughts from you all.
I just want to say a big thank you. I would say that I also learned through this hour and a half. When Janani, thanks for hosting us. I felt hope it added value to everybody as much as it added value to me, and lovely to get to meet you all once again.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, I would also like to echo and what Shakti said, and thank you everybody for taking out time. I know everybody's time is valuable, but you guys joined, had interactions, asked great questions, and feel free to have connections with us. Maybe bring questions to us. Any kind of support any of us can provide. Please feel free. Don't hesitate. Agile obviously also means connected together like a team. So don't feel shy about connecting with us, and reach out to us. We are always there to respond and help you back in any way possible. And thank you once again. Thank you, Janani. Thank you all the organizers for bringing this forum, so that people and we all can connect together online. Once again, thank you.
Yeah, finally, why don't you take a picture? If anyone who can come on the video, so we can take a picture. Okay, we see people are coming on the camera.
There were days when you used to do that with a selfie camera. Now we do it with a screenshot.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's all. So we will be waiting for a couple of people to join.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Sorry, Janani.
Face to face. Yep.
Okay, so at the count of three.
I guess it's late for everybody. Everybody's in the mood, right?
Right. So at the count of three, I'm going to take a picture. You can smile. Okay. So 1, 2, 3.
Oh, we have more coming in. One more, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, let's take one more. Yes. Rumesh, if you also can come in time when I'm taking, okay? Rumesh, you also can take one. Okay, so 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
I hope Rumesh also took a one. Okay, right. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. We will meet in another session like this, and a great evening and good night to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Take care.
Yes, be safe, guys. Take care.
Yeah, take care.
Actually, good morning from Canada.
Good morning.
Have a good day. Have a good day. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.